Hello and welcome to another episode of 1000 Actually Fun Books, where we are reviewing books on every genre, looking for the best of fun escapist books. Today we're reviewing the book called The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho, something like that. A Brazilian author. I'm not sure whether it was originally written in English or not, but it is a literary fiction. This is one of those books that are on sometimes lists of, 100 best books to read kind of book list, this kind of thing. It has mystical fantasy elements in it, though. This is kind of more a parable, a fable, a fairy tale, more than it really is a serious book, but it has a whole bunch of philosophical sayings in it, musings, discussions about the meaning of life, the universe, and everything, that kind of book. So that's why it ends up on all these, great book lists. Okay, so let's talk about the plot. So the plot is in two levels. You have a superficial story that is the fairy tale. It is the parable. It has a lot of the same feel of if you read book of Hans Christian Andersen or Brothers Grimm or Aesop's Fables. Any of those kind of things, it has a lot of those same beats to it. A boy with a goal. In this case, he wants to travel and find a treasure, and then he has obstacles and he has people he meets that help him along the way or give him advice, and if he follows it, he gets past an obstacle, that kind of stuff. It also has a second level to the book, which is about that world explanations, the discoveries of the meaning, the life of the universe and everything, and it's the second level that people are really interested in, but the storyline tends to follow the discoveries. It's an earned discovery for the most part. So let's start with things I like. So one of the things I do like is that earned discovery. So the boy does something, he doesn't have a name. It's just the boy. The boy goes out and discovers something, experiences something, and then he thinks about it and ponders it and comes up with some trite phrase about what it is. So I did like that it felt earned. It wasn't just a blurting out of some random piece of philosophy. I did like that. I liked the fairy tale part itself. So the adventure that he goes on, I like fairy tales, and I like those beats of fairy tales, the things that you expect on the way it goes. And the author did a good job of making it feel like a fairy tale. And so I enjoyed that. I liked the way that obstacles came up and how he overcame them, and how that all fit together and fulfilling his dream. So his kind of goal is fulfilling a dream. He calls it a personal legend, is like your life goal or something like that. So I like that. I like that some of the things, the philosophical musings that he has, are actually worth thinking about. Some of them. So for example, it says, a blessing ignored is a curse. That phrase, that's worth pondering about. Is that true? Do I believe that? Can I think of illustrations in life where that seems to be true or not true? It's worth thinking about. Not necessarily embracing wholeheartedly, but thinking about. So I did like that they have things like that. Another thing is he comes across a man, another example of this, he comes across a man that also has a life dream, a personal legend. He's like, everybody has a personal legend. And in this case, the personal legend that he wanted to do was do a pilgrimage. And the boy talks with him about it, and the boy is actually on his quest to fulfill his personal legend, and the other man is not. And he said, that his life goal is something that he wants to mentally plan and think about and long for, but he doesn't actually want to do. He wants to just continue to think about it. And that's just all he wants to do. He will never step out and actually go do this pilgrimage. And that's an interesting thing to ponder about the idea that some people want to not actually do it. The idea of the thinking about it is better than the doing of it, in his opinion. And that's something worth thinking about. So I like a lot of that kind of thing. However, there's a lot that I did not like about this book. This is a quasi-religious book. And what it does is it takes bits and pieces from a whole bunch of different religions, Judaism, Christianity, Islam, and mushes it up in a blender and comes out with a blob of stuff that he just spews out. And 80% of it I would consider nonsense. It's trying to sound profound, but it sounds like profound BS to me. And the fact that people love this is maybe more indicative of the culture that we live in than it is the book itself. This is a new agey type of book where it's like, let me tell you something and then, act like it's true. And some of it is weird and some of it is kind of offensive, honestly. So let's do a nonsense type of one. So starting on page 142, this is an alchemist that he's come across, a traditional alchemist, somebody who turns lead into gold and finds the fountain of youth, so to speak. And the alchemist is speaking. I have known true alchemists, the alchemist continued. They locked themselves in their laboratories and tried to evolve as gold had. So gold evolves in this book. And they found the philosopher's stone because they understood that when something evolves, everything around that thing evolves as well. Others stumbled upon the stone by accident. They already had the gift and their souls were readier for such things than the souls of others. But they don't count, they're quite rare. And then there were others who were interested only in gold. They never found the secret. They forgot that lead, copper, and iron have their own personal legends to fulfill, and anyone who interferes with the personal legend of another thing will never discover his own. Okay, so that was a whole bunch of philosophical nonsense about the idea of lead having its own personal legend, and if you interfere with it, that's a bad thing, it's just weird. And then there's the stuff that's, I find, more religiously blasphemous, highly offensive. So this is on page 158. The boy reached through the soul of the world and saw that it was a part of the soul of God. And he saw that the soul of God was his own soul, and that he, a boy, could perform miracles. So this is a new agey, God is in everything and we are God, and it's just, I would consider that baloney. So to me, since it clashes so horribly with my worldview, for a lot of the baloney the BS that it spews all over the place, I did not enjoy the philosophical stuff. It was not like, a lot of the reviews are like, oh, it was so profound, it moved me, it changed my life. No, for me, I'm like, well, this is a bunch of nonsense, I could write a bunch of nonsense and publish it. Now, because it's wrapped in a story, it's not just a religious text. Like if he had just come around and wrote the religious parts, ignoring the story, only a tiny fraction of people in the world would actually have any interest in reading it. But because it's wrapped up in this fancy wrapping paper of a tale, people are much more interested to be like, oh, it's got deeper beatings, so profound. Anyway, so I did not like the religious overtones of this book at all. It was too much preaching, really, is what it felt like. And I did not enjoy it that way. Another thing I didn't like is his very impassive voice. So it is, the boy did something. So the boy took a sheep to the market. The boy then sheared the sheep and sold the wool. The boy then went to Arabia. Now, all of this, the boy doing these kind of things, it comes across as very, like I said, very passive voice. You do not get inside the emotions of the situation. It's very high level, again, like a fairy tale. Like, you don't feel in Cinderella and Prince Charming, you don't get a feel of Prince Charming, right? And it's that kind of same way. It is, you come away from it going, you think about the philosophical stuff, you do not think about the characters. The only character growth is his revelation of the philosophy the author wants to convey, not about any kind of emotional growth or character development. That's not what this book is. So I didn't like that very much. So very passive. Okay, so that's kind of my thoughts on this book. It is, again, quasi-religious, didn't like that. I really kind of pondered, though, whether this should be an okay or a disappointment. It is an easy read, and I do like the fairy tale part. Like, if you ignore what it's saying as actually relevant to our lives and just take it as an alternate universe, very fantasy, that has no meaning for this life, then it was actually pretty good. So I'm going to put it as an okay. The kind of book that I would say, hey, if you wanted to try it, go for it, see what you think instead. And if you don't want to do it, you're not missing out, I don't think. So just an okay book. All right. It was good to try something different, though. All right. Thank you for watching, and I hope you join me next week.